Hello everyone, I'm Pedro, I'm a senior product content specialist here at GetResponse, and I'll be your guide. In this video, I will walk you through our automation tool, from its simple controls to more advanced scenarios, and I will even share with you some scenarios that other businesses are using, plus one scenario that we use here at GetResponse. At the end of the video, I will also share some of our own pro tips, so make sure to not miss this one. Here we are at the dashboard, and now without further ado, let's access automation. So there are two ways here that you can use. One can be directly to create a workflow, and you can do that by the quick actions widget. So if you go create workflow right here, or the long path, we go to tools and we access automation right here. And then you will be taken to this page. You will see something very similar if you already have one workflow created, but if you don't, you will see one of our zero states, so you will see one of the screens here that will just have a button for you to create an automation as well. And well, we will cover a few things in this video and some use cases that you will see, but let's start with the basics. So I will start by creating a workflow from scratch. And I just click to create workflow, and I will click build from scratch. And here is where you actually pick a name for the workflow. We won't touch it right now because I will show you later where you can actually change it to. And one thing that you need to understand is that every workflow will actually start with a condition. So the condition are the blue ones right here. And when a condition is met, then the person or the contact who actually met this condition will enter the workflow. We will do something very basic that you need to learn just to get the grasp of the workflow itself. So if someone subscribes to our list, let's just click here. And if this is the first time you are actually doing this, make sure that you actually disable the interactive tutorial here at the top. Or, well, you can also go through it before, as it's actually very helpful if you are just starting. If you want to follow this video, let's start by disabling it. And now, without going too much into detail on the conditions and actions, everything, let's start by seeing how this editor actually works. So starting from the top left, you have the GetResponse icon, and this will simply take you to our main page. So if I just exemplify and open a different tab, you'll see this just takes you to the dashboard. Then you have the history. So this, if I click now to go back, it will erase the first thing that we did, which was to actually select the condition. And then you can go forward as well. So you can go back and forward in history. You have a video right here to watch. You have the interactive tutorial. Then you have the settings. And these settings here, this is where you actually give a name. My first workflow, for example. Well, give a name that will help you identify this workflow, right? And then you have start and end. So this is very important. If you are running a like seasonal campaign, like Black Friday, for example, you would then start at an exact date and finish at an exact date. So when your promo actually ends. If it's something recurring, just leave it as never immediately here and never here. And once you are happy with it, you simply click to save, or in this case, just OK. And well, now we are in the workflow, and the first thing to understand is that every workflow starts with a condition, and once the condition is met, then people will enter the workflow. In this case right now, it is subscribed to any list via any method. So I have a landing page, for example, people subscribe to my list and they will enter this workflow. And let's say that I want to send them a welcome message. So this is the most basic example ever. And here we are. And I would then configure a message here, but before we do that, let me explain that. So we have conditions, all of these in blue, and then you have the actions here. So what will be executed once a condition is met. So if you want to send a message, assign a custom field, move the contacts to a certain list. As you can see, like there are many things that you can do, and you can also filter the contacts. So you can use a filter here, and only contacts that meets the specifications of the filter, right? So for example, if we go to dynamic segment, and I can just link like this. So as you've seen so far, this is drag and drop. It's very easy to use, and then you just connect the dots. And on this one here that I want to show you, so this works for saved segments. And let's say that I want Spanish people here. So from everyone that subscribed, only people that entered my Spanish segment will go through and receive this message. And well, as you can assume, so people who meet the segment goes through the green path, and people who do not meet this segment go through the red path or the right path here. And as we don't have anything else linked, they will simply exit the workflow and considered as completed. And well, to just keep it simple, let me now delete this and link to the message. And now you can use any message that you have. As you can see here, you can select a newsletter, for example, and let's say welcome to Pedro's Language School. And it will always ask you, if you have it only as a newsletter, it will ask you to transform this newsletter into an automation message. So it will be copied as an automation message, nothing bad will happen or anything. And make sure that if you want different settings for the footer, that you select a different list here. And let's say that we are happy with it and we just accept it. So now the message is being transferred to an automation message, and you will see it right here. Here we have our message, and you can edit and create a new message at any time. And something that I want to bring to your attention is this run multiple times. And what this means is this allows you to actually create some loops. And what I mean by that is that if I add another wait action here, and let's say that now I want to wait 1 day and send the same message once again. As you can see, there is a loop over here. And if you have run multiple times, this will continuously send the same message over again. So there are scenarios for loops, not this one for sure, just letting you know exactly what running multiple times will do. So the same person will be able to trigger the same action multiple times, and you will see this run multiple times in conditions as well. All right, now that you know, let's now delete this and check send only to unique recipients. All right, so you might have a different condition to start the workflow. So when any newsletter link is clicked, perhaps you want this person to also join the workflow. But if the same person actually from the same exact list actually joins the workflow twice, so they will join through this condition here and through this condition, you can filter them out already with send only to unique recipients. So this will simply prevent that the newsletter is sent to the same person twice. And then you can also send only during specific hours, in this case from 1 AM to 2 AM. And in addition, you can change this tab color here, and this can be very useful. This is more for organizational purposes. And well, now let's imagine that this is ready. I will actually show you here a specific example. So when you click on an element, and by element I'm referring to anything that we will drag and drop here, so any block here that we drag and drop. So send message is an element, and this condition is an element as well. And now when you click on one, you will see the properties on the right. And let's say that I want a specific list here, and it will be my chat prospects list. And I want to include people who are already in this list. This means this workflow will start with people that are already in this list and people that will subscribe to that list. And then you can also pick the method here of subscription if you have a specific one. In my case, I will leave any method. And once you're ready and we will see this working, we will simply go to save and publish. All right, now you have the workflow created and published, and let's click to see all the workflows. In a moment, you will see that the numbers here will change, and we will go deeper in that later on. As you can see, we have already 3 people in progress. And now let's see the workflow itself, and what if we want to change the message inside. Let's just go here, and just for you to notice, and this was done on purpose so that you can see, and let's zoom in here and you see the numbers. So there are a few numbers here that you need to know about. So this one here in the corner, as you can see, 0 means how many people are currently in that block. So if they were waiting in the block, you will see that number as a different one instead of 0. And as you can see, and this is how many people I have on my list, 3 people went through. So these 3 people went through the connection here and they arrived here. So 3 people here. And now the interesting part is that we have 3 people here waiting on this block, and you might ask, why is that? Because I actually enabled this part here to only send this message between 1 and 2 a.m. So it was not sent yet, and as you can see, they just wait in the block till this time, and then they will be released, and the number 3 will go here to the bottom. So now you kind of know how to read how the workflow is working. And now, what if you want to change the message? Very simple, you could click to just edit here or simply create a new one. It is a very simple thing. If you are using the same message, you would most likely just click to edit. In my case, let's just say welcome as a test so that you will see what do we do. It's very simple. We will just pick one of the templates. It can even be this first one over here, and we offer many templates that you can go through. You make the changes that you will want to, you click next, and then you will save and publish. And this will be saved as an automation message, and I will show you where they are. Alright, so now the message is changed, and one thing to consider here is that you changed it in time. So as the people are still waiting in this block, they will receive the new one and not the old one. If they already were here at the bottom and they finished, so they exited the workflow, they would have just received the old message. So that you should know this difference. If people are waiting, any change that you make might still apply to them. And now, once again, let me save and publish, and I will show you where the automation messages are. Alright, so you just click automation messages right here, and you will see that I have a bunch of them right here. And well, you will then see the statistics as well, if they have. So many of them I just use for testing, and you won't see. And well, once you are done over here, now you know where they are, you will just go to the workflows. And we will jump now to one use case from one of our clients, and there is a case study about it as well. I changed it a little, but you will see how they work and use automation. Alright, so now it's time for us to see the use case number 1, and something simple that you should be doing already. One of our clients, Chris Paul, they work in the wood industry, they do gates and wood joinery in general. And this is what they do, and you can check on the top right, and I will be doing something very similar that you can do it yourself as well, and it applies to any kind of business. Before we check that, I need you to understand how I'm using the newsletter. So I will showcase to you what this newsletter looks like. So let me go to preview over here. And well, so let's say that I'm teaching languages. I'm a school, and I'm teaching Portuguese, Spanish, French, English, and Italian. For the purpose of this example, I have selected a few languages, and we will see how the workflow works. All right. This is our first use case, and let me now break it down to you so that you know how to do it yourself as well. And we started with the condition link clicked. And before I go any further and explain to you, let me just find it over here. So what we did was to drag this condition over here. We drag the tag as well. If you go over here, the action tag, and then we configured. We chose a specific link. We selected the newsletter, so the newsletter that we just looked, and we picked one of the links here. As you saw, we have different links with a link to different material as well, and then we link to the tag. So we will tag people based on where they click, which is very important in terms of segmentation as well. And in case you don't have a tag, you will see that it is very simple and fast to create. You only need to do that, right? Click to add, and there you go. Now you have a tag. And now something to consider is, for example, if you were to now publish this workflow as it is right now, you wouldn't be able to, because all the elements need to be connected in a common point. What this means is, so as you can see all of those here, so if I select all of these, they are all connected, but the new one that we used to exemplify right now, it is not connected. So you wouldn't be able to publish. So that you are able to, you would have to then connect the last dot and make it like that. So this is the common element that everyone is connected. All right, so now that you have a brief over here and that you know which conditions we use, you can see that this is a very simple workflow, but also very powerful. And now let me break it down to you. So this is the link clicked, and on the right you saw that we already selected a specific link, and then you already know about run multiple times, but something new for you will be this one over here, when to assume the condition wasn't met. So for this specific workflow, this won't apply because people that do not click the link, they will simply not enter the workflow. And something to consider as well here is that the workflow only works in the future. So after you publish the workflow, if someone clicks this specific URL, they will then enter the workflow. Otherwise, if they already clicked on the link before you publish, they will not enter. So only for the future, and this applies to any workflow, unless you are using a condition like subscribed via and you include contacts, as in here. So this would include contacts who already are in a specific list. But now digressing to the settings here of this condition, if you were using a different start condition, this simply means that people would never take this red path here. So the path on the right, they would just never take it. They will wait on the block till they meet the condition. So they would never take the red path. Otherwise, you would simply go click here after some time, and after 1 day, if the condition is not met, they would go through the red path instead of waiting on the block indefinitely. Because that's what this actually means here. The never one means indefinitely. They will wait on the block till the link is clicked. And well, as I mentioned, this will not apply for this scenario, as people who do not click the link, they will simply not enter the workflow. And then what we do is something very simple, which is to assign a tag to people. And based on that tag, we will then trigger a different workflow, and I will show to you in a second. Something else that you need to understand is that we then add a score to people because they clicked on the link, and we want to score them based on that too. And you can keep building on this workflow as you wish. We did that because, as I mentioned at the beginning, we need a common element to link everything so that this will work. You could pick anything else that you want, any other action here. As long as you have a common element, you would be able to publish the workflow. And as long as you have the tag, then we can jump to our next workflow. So I always recommend building a specific workflow for, in this case for me, would be for each language. So I would have a workflow for Italian, for Portuguese, for English, for every language that I'm teaching. And then I would start a nurturing cycle. What I mean by that is you would start this workflow with tag assigned, and this is the condition tag assigned right here, and you would select the tag. So in this case, simply learn Italian right here. So wait until the tag is learn Italian. Something that you need to know here for sure, this is not a filter. This condition is not a filter. This will only work when a tag is assigned. So be very careful with that, as you if you have something else here, or if they already have the tag. Let's say, for example, that because you can also do that. So if I do that, if I did that instead, let me delete here and just put it link right there, like in here. And let's say that you would wait 5 days and you will check if they have learn English as a tag. This won't work because this is not a filter, And an example of a filter we will see on use case number 2, so don't worry about it. What you need to know is if you already have people with this tag and you want to start the workflow with this tag over here, you simply include contacts that are already have this tag assigned, and then the other ones, and the other workflow, so the first workflow that I showed you that will assign the tags, once the tag is assigned, this condition will trigger. So they will then go to the block to wait 5 days, and we start a nurturing cycle, which is to send a message. So here is why you should learn Italian. And then wait another 5 days, 5 things to help you improve your speech. So there are many things that you can do, and if you are selling coffee, you can say 5 things that you should do to make better coffee at home, for example. So any business you can think about, you can design a nurturing cycle. And as you can see over here, this is very simple, but you will simply be targeting specific people. So you'll give the people that showed interest in Italian language content about the Italian language as well. So they will be more engaged here. And we didn't do anything special. We simply wait and then we send messages. As you saw already, has how we actually create and edit new messages. And then once again, our pro tip, and I'll mention that in a second again, wait for 999 days. So you can use that to keep building your flow. So if you don't have your messages ready, you can then simply keep adding and change that to 5 days once again if you wish, and add a new message. And now you might ask, all right, but couldn't I do that in one workflow? Yes, you could, but for organizational purposes, you should separate them. It will be easier for you to edit. It will be easier for you to manipulate the workflow, to allow you to be more flexible as well on how you look at things. And one tip here for you is to change the colors. So for example, if you change the weight, because once your workflow gets too big, you will notice that it might be hard to navigate. So if you change, and let's say every weight to red and every send a message to green, you will at a glance actually identify where is the wait action and where is the send message. So it will be very easy for you to make changes here as well. And now, as you were probably asking, we could do that in one workflow. Of course we could. So we could simply do as in here. But as you can see, it's already getting confused, and it will be very big. If you have big nurturing cycles, this will be, and you can, if I actually move myself to the right, you can actually zoom out over here and zoom in as you wish. But as you can see, this will get quite huge. And if you want to manipulate and be flexible with the workflow to make things easy and organized, I recommend that you separate people here. So each workflow applied to a specific tag. But it can be done. Answering the question, it can be done. And as you can see with the colors here, makes everything easier as well. And once again, we will then wait for the amount of days so that you can keep nurturing your contacts. All right, so now let's see how it would look. So the difference here would be, let's say, this last workflow that have everything together, I called targeted emails. And on the other hand, if you have specific ones, I called IT nurturing workflow. So Italian nurturing workflow, to be much easier for you to access the workflow and make changes in the future. So really think about that before you jump into making everything together. And it will also be easier for our customer success team to assist you in the future if you have any trouble with the workflow or you need some help. And now let's jump to our use case number 2. And once again, this is used by one of our clients as well. They are named Mobile Fun, and we did something similar, not exactly what they did, but if you want to see what they did, you can check on top right corner as well, or the link in the description to check the case study. And now let's see what we did. So I named the workflow Coffee Segmentation. And once again, this will apply to any business that you are on. And let's see the workflow. So this is how it looks, very simple and short. And any of you can do that. And this is, it starts with subscribed, and I have a specific list named all about coffee. And this comes from a website that I created as well using the website builder. And then I save the segment, cappuccino drinker, and they then go through the green part, and I send a message to these people that like cappuccino. And then you have a different segment, so if they are not in this segment, they go through the other one, and we search again, and then you have the espresso drinker, and if they are, they receive an espresso themed message, and if they are not, we check again on the saved segment here, regular black drinker, and they get a specific message as well. So what means here is that you will be targeting people based on their preferences as well, and once they subscribe. So this is a field that I created. And just to give you the background over here, for the first thing that we will do is to actually go to the account, go to contacts, and we will go to custom fields. Over here, if you want to do the same, this is what you will do. So create custom fields, let's call it coffee types, and you would have to choose here text. And then I only want single answers, so they will pick the best one. And I will just write colors as an example just for you. So white, black, and pink. Just an example, and then you click to save. So now you have this custom field. Alright, so as I already have this name over here, it didn't allow me to save, but now you will have this custom field. Alright, so now I have coffee type, and what I did, and I mentioned, is I went to the website builder, and I have a website as well. So I went to this one over here, edit website, just for you to see this, just so that you can see that you can do exactly the same. So this is just a template that I picked. It's very simple how you can build a website. And once you reach this page here, you can click on the form, you can go to the fields, and you can add a new field. So let's say that I want to add coffee type, and then it would just appear over here. Of course, you can customize the design over here. You can always customize things, just so that you can see. Then when you go to preview, and I go to the bottom, I can just pick one and sign up. And based on that choice, then I will enter the workflow. All right, so as you already know that, so I'm closing this. And now what you need to know is that people will enter the workflow when they subscribe, and based on their actually choice, they will be sent different messages. And now let's see how we can create the segment to be here. Because you can simply, just to let you know, I dragged the dynamic segment over here. So it's a filter, and I dragged it here. And I already have the segment because I created, but if you don't have, so you never did that, you just go create new segment. You'll be taken to search, you click on advanced search, add condition, contact details, custom field, and then you would pick yours. So coffee types, and you'll have the choices. You apply, and this means that you can then save. You can save as just like that. And everyone, when they actually make this choice, they will be dynamically added to this segment. You don't need to do anything else. They will be added here. And well, so now you know that, and now you know how you can have your segments over here. So you can have multiple segments. You can select more than one. If you wanted more than one segment in one thing here and send the same email, you can also group. And if they don't match the two segments that you actually selected in one block, they will go to the other, and you already know the story over here. And now, well, what I want to tell you over here is that you will be sending very specific message and similar to the other one. And this will help you sell much more, is that you can then keep building this workflow to infinity. there is no end to this, and you can keep sending messages. And what I'm doing right now, so that is just copy pasting and now dragging and dropping everything. So you could keep doing that, wait one day and keep nurturing everything. But something that we learned on the previous use case, after doing that, and this is just my personal choice over here, what you would do here would then be to move these people to different workflows. So this would be a welcome message, these three, and then you would move them to a different workflow specific to their choices. If it's something very specific like the languages, then build a specific workflow for them as well. And you could simply, just so that I can show you here, to easily do that, you could simply use this action over here, which is move to workflow, and all of them could move to a different one. So you could do this, and do this, and this. So you would have a different workflow, and you will start nurturing different people based on different choices that they have. And here you would select one workflow. Let's say, just for the sake of example, my first workflow, select the destination element, and let's say that I want to start a nurturing cycle for them. And if my first workflow was for this specific choice of coffee, then I would just keep building the messages over here and try to upsell them related coffee beans, or how to make this specific coffee at home, buy a grinder, all that kinds of stuff that might help you and provide content of value to these customers. And you could just simply do the same for here and move them to different workflows. So this is something that you can do, very easy to do. You can segment, you should segment your contacts, and once again, it's something that you should always be doing, segmenting and sending targeted messages to this segment. And now let's see where we see the statistics. All right, now it's time to see how we use it. One example that we do at GetResponse. All right, here we are in one of our workflows, and as you can imagine, we have hundreds. And here's one example, something that you can do as well. And it's also based on a tag. We are providing some specific pro tips to our paid users, and you might notice this here as well. Don't pay too much attention to this red thing over here. Simply read, and this simply means that you already included existing contacts on this workflow, meaning that when you click here, that we already have this part enabled, as we saw that you can include people who already have this tag. And what do we do here? So something very simple, and as you can see, quite big. And we wait 7 days, and then we provide pro tips. So we just want to re-engage people and give them something to do that they can already do. So pro tip number 1, wait 7 days, pro tip number 2, and so on. We have all sorts of things over here, and this is something that you can do. It also applies to any kind of business. If you are in the crafts business, you can also do some DIY stuff, and that everyone can do. So this is something that you can apply for yourself as well. And as you can imagine, and as I mentioned, this is not the only workflow that we use. We use workflows for everything, and we target people based on everything, tags and custom fields, as you can imagine. But just to give you a glance here on how we do things at GetResponse as well, we have some onboarding workflows, so to welcome people in the right way as well. And here you can see, as you learn now about the numbers, how many people went through, how many people are currently waiting in this specific block, and how many people already went through it. And then as you go through the blocks, you can see that the numbers keep changing as different people are in the blocks. And well, I hope you actually apply that to your business as well. It won't cost you anything if you are already in the marketing automation plan, and it's something that really re-engages people. And now let's go to the statistics. Alright, so the most important thing when checking for statistics here is to look at completed and in progress. One more reason for you to actually separate the workflows, as I mentioned. So you can see them on IT nurturing workflow. I already have someone in progress, which is myself. And here in the tagging workflow, so I was tagged and I entered the IT nurturing workflow. If you see someone as completed, simply means that they already exited in the workflow, so any changes that you make will not apply to them, and they can re-enter the workflow only if you have run multiple times to a condition that they can meet multiple times. Otherwise, they will just not re-enter the workflow, they complete it and they are done with it. And now let's go to the messages. Automation messages right here. And here you will see how many were delivered, the open rate, the click rate. So I don't have as I didn't open or clicked any message over here. But in your case, once a message is delivered, you will see the number here, you'll see the open rate and the click rate. And something that you should then do to observe better is to access the reports themselves. So you go to the 3 vertical dots and you go to reports over here. Alright, so we are in the reports and you must already be familiar with this one, as we do the same for newsletters. You can download the report, you will see all the statistics over here, and something that is always good to do and that we like to do is to go to opens and clicks and to click on the click map. So this is an amazing feature that will tell you where people are actually clicking over here in percentage, and it works as a heat map. And now back to opens and clicks, you will also see the links that were clicked over here and who actually clicked on them too, and make sure to keep an eye on subscribes as well. If you start seeing more than 1% on subscribes, you should start asking yourself if you're saying the right message to the right people. So keep an eye on that, and other than that, we can jump to the pro tips. Before we do that, make sure that you grab some water, as this is already a quite long video. And I will go now to automation and we will start with some pro tips for you. And the first pro tip that I have for you, and you will already guess and know which one, it is actually to add the wait 999 days to the end of your workflows. And the simple reason for this is, once again, flexibility, and for you to understand that workflows are infinite. You can keep adding whatever you want over here, and if you sometimes don't think about everything at once, and you need time and flexibility to actually develop a proper workflow. And by adding that, it will buy you enough time to keep adding more things. As we mentioned before, if you want to keep nurturing, if you don't have messages ready because you don't have the design ready, and well, can be a million reasons, but once you start a nurturing workflow, and if you are not sure if that's the end or not, always try to use this wait action for 999 days. So that's the first thing we got for you. Pro tip number 2. You should remember about shortcuts, key shortcuts. So you can just Control-C, Control-V, and keep building the workflow like that. And well, of course, sometimes you don't want to copy and paste, you want to cut. So Control-X and Control-V. I will list the list of commands here on the right so that you can do it yourself, as well as the article where you can find them. And well, this will speed up the way you build your workflow. And another thing that you can do, if you already have a quite long workflow, is to click here on the zoom and just zoom out. Sometimes that's all you need. So zoom out, and then here you will increase again. And this will help you give an overview. And for the third pro tip, here we are at the dashboard. And we simply want to add a new widget, and you will look here for the workflow widget, and this will allow you to actually see at a glance how many people completed your workflow. And you can also see a detailed view to actually include how many people are in progress as well, and select a date range. We will use all time, and you simply click to apply, and you will see how many are in progress, how many completed. And if you split the workflow like we taught you to do, in our case it was about different languages, Portuguese, Italian and English, you'll be able to see how many people actually completed and are in progress for these workflows, and simply assume which language might be bringing you the most revenue. And well, that's something that you really want to see at a glance. As the fourth pro tip over here, we have templates. So you can go to automation, you can click to create a workflow and simply use one of our templates. We have these templates designed by professionals already, and depending on what you're doing, abandoned cart, post-purchase, anything that you want to do, we most likely already have it here. And of course, well, you will always have to edit a little, but you can already see how we do it. And you can use the template and start from here instead of starting from scratch. And as you can see here, you already have something prepared for you to use, no time wasted, and you know already how to configure the conditions and how the workflow works in general. So I invite you to go through our templates, and I'll go back once again so that you can see that we have many scenarios, and depending on what you want to do, lead qualifying, welcome, post-purchase, abandoned cart, online courses, we have a ton, and you should be using them. Pro tip number 5, if you have or are using different accounts, you can always export your automation workflow. It will download to your computer, and once you create a new workflow, you can simply click to import. Very simple, might save you a lot of time. And as the last pro tip, you can use automation as an omni-channel. And what this means is to actually expand your marketing efforts in different channels as web push notifications, for example. So instead of sending an email here, you would perhaps want to send a web push notification. And if you want to learn more about web push and how you actually set them up, you can check the video on the top right, and you will then learn how to do. And this is just another way to reach your customers that is not email. So there are a few advantages on that as well. And another thing that you can do, and you will not be able to see it right here, is that for our max customers, you can run SMS campaigns as well. So you could segment people over here and send them an SMS. If you are interested in that, make sure to book a call with our sales team, and they will explain to you how the Max account actually works. And that's it, folks. Thank you for going through this video with me. I hope that now automation feels less scary for you, and that you gather some ideas from where to start. Good luck, and I'll see you in the next video.